The desperate Signal Admiral Veltara stood on the bridge of the Confederacy flagship Peaceful Dawn, watching her homeworld burn through the massive viewing screen. Orange flames spread across the surface of Kethmori Prime like a deadly infection. The beautiful crystal cities that had taken her people 10,000 years to build were crumbling under the relentless bombardment from above. The Zarthak swarm had arrived 3 days ago. Their bioships looked like massive insects made of black metal and pulsing flesh. They moved in perfect coordination, like a single mind controlling thousands of bodies, which Veltara knew with growing horror was exactly what they were. "Admiral, the northern continent defenses have fallen," reported Communications Officer Thys, her voice shaking. The young officer's green skin had turned pale with fear. "The swarm is deploying atmospheric poisoners. The air itself is becoming toxic." Veltara closed her 4 eyes briefly. The Kethmori were herbivores, peaceful by nature. Their technology was advanced, yes, but focused on healing, building, and exploring. Their ships had powerful shields and could travel faster than light, but they carried no weapons beyond basic defensive systems. They had never needed to kill anything. The Zarthak were different. They were predators who had turned warfare into an art form. Their ships were living creatures bred for destruction. Their weapons were diseases and toxins that could wipe out entire ecosystems. They didn't just conquer worlds, they consumed them completely, leaving nothing behind but empty husks floating in space. "How many evacuation ships made it out?" Veltara asked. 1,700 ships carrying 2 million civilians, Thys replied. "But Admiral, the swarm is hunting them down. Their bioships are faster than our transports. Most won't make it to the jump points." On the screen, Veltara watched another crystal spire collapse. She thought of the children in the underground shelters, the elderly who couldn't be moved, the millions of her people who would die in the next few hours. The Confederacy had stood for 20,000 years as a beacon of peace and cooperation between 12 different species. Now it was ending and she was helpless to stop it. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the swarm," Thys announced. "Put it through." The screen flickered, and the image of her dying world was replaced by something that made Veltara's stomach turn. The hive queen of the Zarthak swarm was a massive creature with too many eyes and a mouth that split open to reveal rows of needle-sharp teeth. Her voice was like the sound of metal being torn apart. "Inferior prey species," the queen hissed. "Your resistance only prolongs suffering. Submit to consumption. Your biological material will serve the swarm well." "Why are you doing this?" Veltara demanded. "We offered to share our worlds with you. Our technology could help both our species grow stronger." The queen made a sound that might have been laughter. "Growth through cooperation is weakness. The swarm grows through consumption. Your species is soft, weak, useless except as food and genetic material. Your children will make excellent breeding stock for our warrior drones." The transmission cut off. Veltara felt something break inside her chest. She turned to her communications officer. "Thys, open an emergency channel. All frequencies maximum power. Send it to every star system in the galaxy. Admiral, that will drain our remaining power reserves. We won't be able to jump away." "Do it." Thys's hands moved over her console. "Channel open, Admiral. Broadcasting on all frequencies." Veltara took a deep breath and began to speak. She didn't know if anyone would hear her message. She didn't know if anyone would care, but she had to try. "This is Admiral Veltara of the Kethmori Confederacy, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Our homeworld is under attack by the Zarthak swarm. They are not conquerors, they are exterminators. They consume entire species, leaving nothing alive. They have declared their intention to spread across the galaxy, destroying all intelligent life they encounter." She paused, watching another section of her world's surface disappear under a cloud of toxic gas. "The Confederacy is falling. Our people are dying. We have no weapons capable of stopping them. If there is anyone out there, any species with the power to fight back, please help us. Not just for the Kethmori, but for all the species that will follow. The swarm will not stop with us. They will come for everyone eventually." She looked directly into the camera, knowing this might be the last thing she ever said. "If our message reaches you, and you have the power to fight, please consider the innocent lives that hang in the balance. Our children are in those underground shelters. They have never hurt anyone. They don't deserve to die like this. If you can't save us, at least remember that we tried to warn you. The swarm is coming. Be ready." The transmission ended. Around the bridge, her crew worked quietly at their stations, preparing for the end. They were good people, Veltara thought. They deserved better than this, Admiral. Theiss called out. Long-range sensors are picking up swarm bioships approaching our position. ETA 4 minutes, Veltara nodded. She looked out at the stars beyond her dying world and wondered if her message would reach anyone who could make a difference. The galaxy was vast, full of countless species and civilizations. Surely someone out there had weapons powerful enough to fight the swarm. But even if someone received her message, would they risk their own people to save strangers? The logical choice would be to build defenses and prepare for the swarm's eventual arrival. Getting involved in someone else's war was dangerous and expensive. Still, she had to hope. Hope that somewhere in the galaxy, there was a species that would choose to fight for others instead of just themselves. Hope that someone would hear her plea and decide that some things were worth risking everything for. The first bioship appeared on the screen, its hull pulsing with veins of sickly light. More followed, dozens of them moving toward the peaceful dawn like hungry predators. All hands prepare for final engagement, Veltara announced over the ship's communication system. It has been an honor serving with you all. Her message was already racing through space at the speed of light, spreading outward in all directions. It would take time to reach the distant stars, but it would get there eventually. Someone would hear it. She just hoped they would care enough to act. The bioships opened fire, and the peaceful dawn shuddered under the impact. Veltara gripped her command chair and watched the stars, still hoping that somewhere out there, someone was listening, someone who could fight back, someone who would choose to help. The bridge lights flickered as another blast hit their shields. In the distance, her homeworld continued to burn, but her message was already beyond the reach of the swarm, traveling toward civilizations she could only dream of. All she could do now was hope that her words would find the right ears, and that those ears belonged to warriors. The Deathworlder response. The message arrived at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega at 0347 hours, Standard Time. Lieutenant Sarah Mackenzie was on night shift duty when her console started screaming alerts. She had been tracking routine asteroid movements and cataloging distant star formations when every receiver dish on the station suddenly picked up the same signal. "What the hell?" Sarah muttered, pulling up the data stream. The signal was strong, too strong to be natural background radiation. It was clearly artificial, but unlike anything in Earth's databases. The frequency patterns were completely alien. She hit the emergency button, and within minutes her supervisor, Captain Rodriguez, was running into the control room in his pajamas. "Talk to me, Mackenzie. What are we looking at?" "Unknown transmission, sir. Artificial origin, definitely not human. The signal is coming from..." She checked her readings twice. 47 light-years out in the direction of the Vega system. Rodriguez stared at the screen. In his 20 years with the Defense Force, he had never seen anything like this. "Are you telling me we just received our first confirmed alien transmission?" "Yes, sir. And Captain, there's something else. The AI translation protocols are already working on it. Preliminary analysis suggests it's some kind of distress signal." Within 6 hours, the message had been fully decoded and was sitting on the desk of Admiral Sarah Chen at Pacific Command. She read it 3 times before calling an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. The council chamber filled quickly with the most powerful people on Earth. Defense ministers, military commanders, and scientists took their seats around the massive table, while Admiral Chen stood at the front, the alien message displayed on the wall behind her. "Ladies and gentlemen, 8 hours ago we received confirmation that we are not alone in the universe. Unfortunately, our first contact is not a peaceful greeting. It's a cry for help." She played the translated message. Admiral Veltara's voice, synthesized into English, filled the room. The desperation was clear even through the translation software. When it finished, the room was silent for a long moment. "How do we know this is real?" asked General Morrison from the American delegation. "Could be some kind of test or hoax." Dr. Elizabeth Warren, head of the Xenobiology Department, shook her head. "The signal characteristics, the mathematical proofs embedded in the transmission, the complexity of the language structure. This is definitely alien origin. No human technology could fake this level of detail." "Even if it's real," said Defense Minister Petrov from the Russian Federation, "what can we do? They're 47 light-years away. By the time we could get there, whatever is happening would be long over." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "Actually, that's not entirely accurate. Our newest FTL drives can make the journey in approximately 36 hours. Our long-range sensors are already picking up energy signatures from that region of space. There's definitely some kind of massive conflict happening there. The room erupted in arguments. Some delegates demanded more information. Others insisted that getting involved in an alien war was too dangerous. A few suggested that humanity should focus on defending Earth rather than traveling halfway across the galaxy. Dr. Marcus Webb, the Council's senior xenobiologist, raised his hand for quiet. When the room settled down, he spoke in a calm voice that somehow made everyone listen. I've been analyzing the cultural and linguistic patterns in this message. There are several details that I think you need to understand. He brought up a new display showing translation notes. When Admiral Veltara mentions children in underground shelters, she's not just talking about young members of her species. The linguistic structure suggests that the Kethmori have a concept similar to our idea of protecting innocence. But there's more. He highlighted a section of the message. The enemy she describes, this Zarthak swarm, they're not just conquerors. The language she uses translates most closely to consumer of worlds and ender of bloodlines. They're talking about complete extermination, genocide. The room went quiet again. And here's the part that should concern us most, Dr. Webb continued. She specifically states that the swarm intends to spread across the galaxy, destroying all intelligent life. If that's true, Earth isn't safe just because we're far away. We're next on the list. General Morrison leaned forward. Are you suggesting we should get involved in someone else's war to protect ourselves? No, Admiral Chen said firmly. I'm suggesting we get involved because it's the right thing to do. And because we're probably the only ones who can. She activated a new display showing Earth's current military capabilities. While other species apparently developed peaceful technologies, we've spent the last 5,000 years perfecting warfare. Our ships carry enough firepower to glass a continent. Our soldiers train for combat in environments that would kill most life forms. We've been preparing for interstellar war since we achieved FTL travel. She gestured to the translated message. These people are herbivores, pacifists by nature. They built defenses, not weapons. They're being slaughtered by predators who turned killing into an art form. But there's one thing these Zarthak don't know. What's that? Asked Minister Petrov. They've never fought a species from a death world. The term death world was familiar to everyone in the room. It was how the few alien signals they had intercepted classified Earth. A planet where life was so dangerous that evolution had produced creatures capable of surviving anything. Humans had evolved on a world of predators, natural disasters, and constant competition for resources. Dr. Webb pulled up his analysis of Earth's classification in alien databases. Most inhabited worlds in the galaxy appear to be garden worlds, peaceful, stable, with gentle weather and cooperative evolution. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world, meaning it's barely suitable for life at all. We're probably the most militaristically advanced species they've ever encountered. Admiral Chen nodded. The question is, do we help them? The debate that followed was intense but brief. When Dr. Webb translated additional cultural nuances from the message, revealing that the swarm was specifically targeting children for breeding purposes, the debate ended. That's enough, Admiral Chen said quietly, but her voice carried across the room. Some lines you don't cross. Targeting children is one of them. Within 12 hours, the decision was made. Earth would deploy its most advanced battle fleet to assist the Kethmori Confederacy. But they wouldn't be going to evacuate survivors or provide humanitarian aid. They were going to war. Admiral Chen stood in the command center of the UES Retribution, Earth's newest dreadnought, watching the fleet assemble. 200 ships, including 12 dreadnoughts, 36 heavy cruisers, 50 destroyers, and the experimental stealth ships that officially didn't exist. Ma'am, Captain Torres reported from his station. Fleet reports ready for FTL jump. Chen looked out at the gathered fleet. Every ship bristled with weapons designed by a species that had turned violence into a science. Kinetic accelerators that could punch through asteroid fields, nuclear warheads that could crack moons, plasma cannons that burned as hot as stars. Set course for Kethmori space, she ordered, and send a message to whoever's listening out there. Tell them the cavalry is coming. What if we're too late, Admiral? Torres asked. Chen smiled grimly. Then we'll make sure those responsible pay for it. Jump when ready. The fleet vanished into FTL space, racing toward a war zone 47 light-years away. They weren't bringing medical supplies or refugee ships. They were bringing humanity's answer to genocide, and the galaxy was about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world. First contact through fire. The human fleet dropped out of FTL space at the edge of the Kethmori Prime system, like a pack of wolves emerging from a dark forest. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, studying the tactical display with growing anger. The beautiful blue-green world that should have been teeming with life was surrounded by hundreds of alien bioships. Clouds of toxic gas obscured large sections of the planet's surface. "Sensor report," Chen ordered. Lieutenant Commander Park ran her hands over the scanning controls. "I'm reading massive energy signatures around the planet. Those bioships are conducting orbital bombardment. Life signs on the surface are..." She paused, checking her readings again. "Ma'am, I'm detecting maybe 10% of what a world this size should have." "They're exterminating the population," Chen said quietly. Her jaw tightened. "Any sign of the Confederacy fleet?" "Scattered contacts throughout the system. Looks like maybe 40 ships still fighting, but they're being hunted down by superior numbers. Admiral, I'm picking up refugee ships trying to reach the jump points, but the alien bioships are intercepting them." On the main screen, Chen watched a Confederacy transport ship, probably carrying thousands of civilians, explode under fire from 3 pursuing bioships. She had seen enough. "Fleet-wide channel, all ships." "Channel open." "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Davis. "All ships. This is Admiral Chen. We came here to help, but we're too late to save most of these people. What we can do is make sure the bastards responsible pay for it. Battle stations. Weapons free. We're going to introduce these Zarthak to some Death World hospitality." The human fleet spread into attack formation. The bioships around Kethmori Prime began to take notice of the new arrivals. On the alien ships, sensor operators that looked like oversized beetles were trying to classify the strange newcomers. Chen opened a direct communication channel to the bioship fleet. She wanted to give them one chance, though she hoped they would refuse. "Attention Zarthak forces. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to cease all hostile actions against the Kethmori immediately and withdraw from this system. You have 30 seconds to comply." The response came quickly. The main screen flickered to show the bridge of the largest bioship. The creature that appeared there was like something from humanity's worst nightmares. The Hive Queen was massive, with 6 arms ending in razor-sharp claws, compound eyes that reflected light like broken glass, and a mouth full of teeth designed for tearing flesh. "Unknown species," the Queen hissed, her voice translated by the ship's computers. "You interfere in swarm business. Withdraw or be consumed. Your biological material will serve useful purposes." Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I was hoping you'd say that." Fire at will. What happened next would later be called the Kethmori Massacre, though not for the reasons the Zarthak expected. The human fleet opened fire with every weapon they had. Kinetic accelerators launched tungsten rods at significant fractions of light speed. Nuclear warheads detonated in brilliant flashes among the bioship formations. Plasma cannons sent beams of superheated matter that burned through organic hulls like they were made of paper. The Zarthak had evolved their bioships to fight enemies who used energy, shields, and defensive technologies. They were not prepared for weapons designed by a species that had perfected the art of killing everything they encountered. The tungsten rods punched completely through bioships from end to end. The nuclear warheads created expanding spheres of destruction that vaporized anything within kilometers. The plasma beams carved through multiple ships in single shots. Within minutes, 30% of the Zarthak fleet around Kethmori Prime had been destroyed. On the Hive Queen's ship, damage reports flooded in from all directions. Her subordinates buzzed with confusion and fear, emotions the swarm rarely experienced. "What are these weapons?" demanded the Queen. "How do they penetrate our bioarmor so easily?" Her tactical coordinator, a creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a lobster, studied the sensor data. "Unknown technology, my Queen. Their projectiles are simple metal but moving at impossible speeds. Their energy weapons operate at temperatures that should not be sustainable. And their explosive devices," he paused. "My Queen, they are using controlled fusion reactions as weapons." The Queen's compound eyes focused on the tactical display. "Fusion weapons? What manner of insane species weaponizes stellar fire?" She was about to learn. The human fleet moved through the bioship formations like sharks through a school of fish. The Zarthak tried to respond with their own weapons, bioacids that could eat through metal, poison clouds that killed by contact, living missiles that could think and adapt. But human ships were designed for war. Their hulls were layered armor designed to stop projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. Their life support systems had multiple backups because they expected to take damage. Their crews trained constantly for combat in damaged ships, fighting while bleeding and breathing recycled air. Captain Elena Rodriguez piloted her destroyer Vengeance through a cloud of bioacid that would have dissolved most alien ships. The acid ate through her outer hull plating, but the inner armor held. She returned fire with her main guns, putting 3 tungsten rods through the bioship that had fired at her. "This is Vengeance," she reported over the fleet channel. "Bioacids are eating through hull plating, but we're still combat effective. Continuing attack run." All across the battle zone, similar reports came in. Human ships took damage that would have crippled most alien vessels and kept fighting. When the bioships tried to ram them, human captains rammed back, their reinforced hulls built to survive impacts that would shatter normal spacecraft. The Confederacy ships that were still fighting watched in amazement as this unknown species tore through the swarm like they were made for it. Captain Thiss, now commanding one of the few surviving Confederacy vessels, opened a communication channel to the nearest human ship. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Thiss of the Confederacy ship Last Hope. Thank you for coming to our aid. What species are you? How did you know we needed help?" The response came from a human destroyer that was currently using its plasma cannons to carve through 3 bioships at once. "Captain, this is Commander Jackson of the UES Fury. We're humans from Earth. We got your Admiral's message and came as fast as we could. Hold position and let us clear these bugs out for you." "Humans?" Thice had never heard the term before. "What classification of world are you from?" "Class 12 Deathworld, ma'am, and these Zarthak are about to find out what that means." As if to prove his point, the Fury launched a spread of nuclear warheads into the center of a bioship formation. The explosions lit up space like tiny suns, and when the light faded, a dozen bioships had simply ceased to exist. The Hive Queen watched her fleet being systematically destroyed and felt something she had never experienced before: fear. The swarm had conquered dozens of species, consumed hundreds of worlds. They had never encountered resistance like this. "All ships withdraw to Rally Point 7, she ordered. "We must regroup and analyze these new weapons." But Admiral Chen wasn't going to let them escape. "All ships pursue and destroy. Don't let any of them get away to warn the others." The human fleet gave chase as the surviving bioships tried to flee the system. The experimental stealth destroyers, ships that officially didn't exist, uncloaked and opened fire on the retreating swarm vessels. Their advanced targeting systems and improved weapons turned the retreat into a slaughter. By the time the battle ended, less than 20% of the original Zarthak fleet had escaped. The space around Kethmori Prime was filled with debris from hundreds of bioships. Admiral Chen opened a channel to the surviving Confederacy forces. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call and came to help. Are there any survivors on the planet who need immediate assistance?" The response came from Captain Thiss, her voice shaking with emotion. "Admiral Chen, there are survivors in underground shelters, but the surface is heavily contaminated. Our medical ships were destroyed. We have no way to help them." "Understood. We're deploying our medical teams now. Our ships are equipped for hazardous environment operations." Chen turned to her staff. "Deploy the rescue shuttles with full contamination gear. I want medical teams on that planet in 30 minutes. And get me a channel to Earth Command. We need to report first contact." As human rescue teams descended toward the poisoned world, Captain Thiss realized something important. These humans hadn't come to evacuate survivors or negotiate peace. They had come to fight. They had traveled 47 light-years to help strangers, and their first instinct had been to destroy the attackers rather than simply defend. What kind of species did that? On Earth, the answer would have been simple: the kind that had evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill them. The kind that had learned that sometimes the only way to protect the innocent was to destroy the guilty. The kind that classified mercy and violence as 2 sides of the same coin. The Zarthak swarm was about to learn a very important lesson about Deathworlders. They didn't just fight to survive, they fought to win. The art of Deathworld War. The news of humanity's intervention at Kethmori Prime spread through the galaxy at the speed of light. Within days, Every major civilization had received reports of the mysterious new species that had appeared from nowhere and destroyed a swarm fleet in a matter of hours. In the Galactic Council chambers on Centris Prime, representatives from dozens of species gathered for an emergency session. The circular chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates compared notes and tried to understand what they were dealing with. The energy signatures are unprecedented, reported scientist Kelvin of the Vorthon Republic, his tentacles waving anxiously as he reviewed the data. These humans use kinetic weapons that operate at nearly 10% of light speed. Their explosive devices create fusion reactions equivalent to small stellar events. How is this level of military technology even possible? Ambassador Theiss, the sole surviving Kethmori representative, stood to address the council. She still bore the marks of her ordeal, her green skin pale from stress, her normally bright eyes dimmed by the horrors she had witnessed. But when she spoke about the humans, her voice carried something that had been missing from the galaxy for a long time. Hope. Honored delegates, I was there when the humans arrived. I saw what they did to the swarm. These beings fight like nothing we have ever encountered. They do not seek to disable or capture. They seek to completely destroy their enemies. Their ships are built to continue fighting even when heavily damaged. Their crews train for combat scenarios that would terrify most of our military personnel. She activated a holographic display showing footage from the battle. The assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as human ships carved through bioship formations with ruthless efficiency. But here is what you must understand, Theiss continued. They did not come to conquer us. They came to help. They traveled 47 light years because strangers were in danger. When they arrived, they did not demand tribute or territory. They simply began killing the creatures that were murdering our children. Meanwhile, in the depths of swarm space, the Hive Queen floated in her massive bioship, studying the reports from her surviving fleet commanders. The chamber around her pulsed with organic technology, walls that breathed and floors that responded to her thoughts. But for the first time in her long life, the Queen felt uncertain. Show me the recordings again, she commanded. The bioship's living computers projected holographic images of the battle. The Queen watched her. Carefully evolved warriors, creatures that had conquered dozens of species, being torn apart by weapons she barely understood. Analysis, she demanded from her primary tactical coordinator. The creature scuttled forward on 8 legs, its multiple eyes focused on the data streams. My Queen, these humans appear to be from what the galactic databases classify as a death world. Their technology is unlike anything we have encountered. Where other species developed defensive systems, they have perfected offensive capabilities. Where others seek to avoid conflict, they have made warfare into a precise science. How is this possible? The Queen hissed. No species can survive on a death world long enough to develop advanced technology. The data suggests otherwise, my Queen. Their homeworld is classified as Class 12, nearly uninhabitable. Constant natural disasters, predatory ecosystems, unstable weather patterns. Evolution on such a world would select for creatures capable of surviving anything. The Queen's compound eyes reflected her growing unease. The swarm had always been the apex predator of the galaxy. They consumed other species because they were stronger, faster, more efficient at killing. But these humans had destroyed her fleet with casual ease. What are their weaknesses? She demanded. The coordinator hesitated. Unknown, my Queen. Their ships appear to have redundant systems throughout. Their crews continue fighting even when injured. Their weapon systems seem designed to operate independently of central control. Standard swarm tactics of biological warfare and poisoning appear ineffective against their sealed environmental suits. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the war room of Pacific Command, studying intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Dr. Webb and his xenobiology team had been working around the clock to analyze captured swarm, biotechnology, and communications. Intercepts, what are we looking at, Doctor? Chen asked. Dr. Webb activated a 3-dimensional map of known space. Red markers indicated confirmed swarm presence, while yellow markers showed systems that had gone silent and were presumed consumed. Admiral, the Zarthak swarm controls approximately 400 star systems in this region of the galaxy. They've been expanding for roughly 2,000 years, consuming every intelligent species they encounter. Their bioships are literally grown, not built. and they can reproduce new vessels by feeding biomass to their queenships. Numbers? Conservative estimates suggest they have somewhere between 50 and 100,000 bioships of various sizes. They operate under a hive mind controlled by these hive queens, with approximately 12 queens commanding different sectors of their territory. Chen studied the map. Even with Earth's entire fleet, they were outnumbered by at least 50 to 1. Any conventional military strategist would recommend defensive preparations and hope the swarm never found Earth. But Chen wasn't a conventional strategist. She was a product of humanity's long history of warfare, trained by a species that had perfected the art of killing everything they encountered. Doctor, what's the swarm's greatest weakness? Their hive mind structure. Each fleet is controlled by a single queen. Destroy the queen, and the individual bioships become confused and disorganized. They can still fight, but they lose their coordination and tactical superiority. And where are these queens located? Dr. Webb highlighted several massive biosignatures on the map. The queenships are enormous, easily 10 times the size of our largest dreadnoughts. They stay in the center of major fleet formations protected by hundreds of smaller vessels. Chen smiled grimly. So to cripple them, we need to fight through hundreds of bioships to reach a target the size of a small moon. Yes, Admiral. It would be considered tactically impossible by most military standards. Good thing we're not most militaries. What's our fleet status? General Morrison, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. All fleets are at full readiness. We have 800 combat vessels available for immediate deployment, with another 300 in final construction phases. Our industrial complexes are operating at maximum capacity. And our new weapon systems? The Mark 7 kinetic accelerators are operational on all dreadnoughts. The fusion warheads have been upgraded with improved targeting systems, and the experimental antimatter devices are ready for field testing. Chen turned back to the map. The way I see it, we have two choices. We can wait here and hope the swarm never finds Earth, or we can take the fight to them before they have time to adapt to our weapons. Admiral, Dr. Webb said carefully, taking offensive action against the swarm would be incredibly dangerous. If we fail, Earth would be defenseless. Doctor, if we wait, Earth is defenseless anyway. The swarm won't stop expanding. Eventually, they'll find us. When they do, we'll be fighting alone with no allies and no strategic advantages. She gestured to the map. But if we act now, we can choose our battles. We can rescue other species and build alliances. We can hit them before they're ready for us. General Morrison nodded slowly. A preemptive strike. Attack them while they're still trying to figure out what we are. Exactly. The Confederacy gave us intelligence on swarm movements and tactics. Other species will do the same if we prove we can protect them. We build a coalition while systematically destroying their queenships. Chen activated the communication system. Get me fleet commanders Chen, Rodriguez, Martinez, and Thompson. We're going to plan the largest military operation in human history. As the fleet commanders appeared on the screen, Chen felt the weight of what she was proposing. Humanity was about to declare war on an enemy that controlled hundreds of star systems and commanded thousands of bioships. But they were also about to discover something the galaxy had forgotten. What happened when a species that had perfected warfare decided to fight for something bigger than themselves? The Zarthak swarm had spent 2,000 years consuming peaceful civilizations that fought only when cornered. They had never encountered a species that considered warfare an art form, that trained constantly for combat, that built weapons designed specifically to kill efficiently. They had never fought Deathworlders who weren't just fighting for survival, but for the protection of innocents they had never met. Admiral Chen looked at her commanders and began to outline humanity's war plan. It was ambitious, dangerous, and probably insane by the standards of most galactic civilizations. It was also exactly the kind of plan that a species from a Class 12 Deathworld would create. The swarm was about to learn that there were worse things in the galaxy than hive-minded predators. There were humans who had decided to fight back. When Deathworlders unite, the final battle began in the heart of swarm space in a system that had no name, because the Zarthak had consumed every civilization that might have given it one. 3 massive biostructures floated in the darkness around a dying red star, the primary hive ships of the swarm, each one home to billions of bioships and one of the ancient queens who ruled the Zarthak Empire. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. It had taken 6 months of careful planning and brutal fighting to reach this moment. 6 months of hit-and-run attacks, rescuing survivor populations, and building the most unlikely alliance in galactic history. "Fleet status report," she ordered. Captain Torres consulted his displays. 800 human vessels in primary formation. 200 Confederacy ships with jury-rigged weapon systems. 50 Vorthan Republic heavy cruisers. 37 ships from the Kellan Collective, and approximately 100 mixed vessels from 12 other species. Chen nodded. It was the largest military fleet ever assembled in this region of the galaxy, brought together by one simple principle. Some things were worth fighting for, even if you died trying, but it still wasn't enough. The enemy biosignatures on her screen numbered in the tens of thousands. The 3 Queen ships alone were each larger than Earth's moon, surrounded by defensive formations that stretched across millions of kilometers. "Ma'am," reported Lieutenant Commander Park, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead Queen ship." "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and Chen found herself looking at the primary hive queen of the Zarthak swarm. The creature was ancient beyond measure, her carapace scarred by countless battles, her compound eyes reflecting the light of 1,000 dying civilizations. "Primitive Deathworlders," the Queen hissed, her voice carrying across space with ancient malice. "You have interfered with swarm expansion for the last time. We have adapted to your crude weapons. We have bred new bioforms resistant to your toxins and energies. Today your species joins the consumed." Chen smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Your Majesty, I have a message for you from every species you've ever destroyed. Go to hell." The battle erupted across the entire system. The swarm's bioships launched themselves forward in massive waves, their hulls pulsing with new adaptations designed to counter human weapons. They had grown thicker armor, developed energy-absorbing tissues, and bred specialized hunter-killers designed specifically to target human ships. But Admiral Chen had been expecting that. Humans were good at adapting too. "All ships implement Plan Omega," she ordered. Across the fleet, human vessels began deploying weapons that hadn't existed 6 months ago. Antimatter warheads that could crack asteroids, plasma lances that burned hotter than stellar cores, and the experimental quantum disruptors that could tear apart molecular bonds at the atomic level. The first wave of bioships met the human line and discovered that their new adaptations were useless against weapons that operated on entirely different principles. Antimatter didn't care how thick your armor was. Quantum disruptors ignored biological resistance. Plasma that burned at 100 million degrees vaporized everything it touched. But the swarm had numbers, and they pressed forward with the fury of a species that had never known defeat. Bioships swarmed around human vessels like insects around a light, trying to overwhelm them through sheer mass. Captain Elena Rodriguez found herself in the thick of the fighting aboard the destroyer Vengeance. Her ship had taken severe damage, hull breaches on 3 decks, life support failing in the rear sections, and main power down to 60%. But she kept fighting. "Rodriguez to all ships," she broadcast over the fleet channel. "We've got bioships trying to board us through the hull breaches. Crew is repelling boarders with small arms. We're still combat effective and continuing the attack." Similar reports came in from across the fleet. Human crews fighting hand-to-hand combat with alien boarding parties while their ships continued to fire on the enemy. Damage control teams working to repair weapon systems while toxic gases leaked through hull breaches. Engineers jury-rigging power systems to keep the guns firing even as their ships came apart around them. It was exactly the kind of fighting that humans had been bred for on their death world. Violent, chaotic, desperate combat where victory went to whoever could keep fighting longest. The Confederacy ships, inspired by human determination, pushed their defensive systems far beyond safe limits to create improvised weapons. Captain Thiss converted her ship's entire shield generator into a massive energy lance that could punch through bioship hulls. When the system overloaded and caught fire, her crew kept it running with handheld fire extinguishers and raw determination. "Human fleet, this is Captain Thiss," she reported. "Our shield generator is literally melting, but we're still putting holes in these bastards. The children in those shelters are counting on us. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Marcus Webb, the xenobiologist who had first translated the Confederacy's plea for help, was aboard the science vessel Discovery when it was attacked by a Queen ship's bioweapon, a living virus designed to consume the ship's crew. Instead of dying, Webb did what humans did best. He adapted. All ships, this is Dr. Webb aboard the Discovery. I've isolated the bioweapon they're using against us. It's an engineered virus, but it has a fatal flaw. It's designed to target specific biological markers. If we can reverse engineer it and modify the targeting parameters... English, Doctor, Admiral Chen demanded over the comm. Admiral, I can turn their own bioweapon against them. Give me 10 minutes and a direct link to our manufacturing systems. Those 10 minutes were the longest of the war. The human fleet fought desperately to buy time, while Dr. Webb worked frantically to reprogram an alien virus into a weapon that could target the Queens themselves. The bioships pressed closer, overwhelming human vessels through sheer numbers. The Retribution took a direct hit from a Queen ship's primary weapon, an energy blast that melted through armor plating and sent the entire ship spinning out of control. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, reported damage control. Main engines offline. Weapons down to 40%. Chen picked herself up from the deck, blood running from a cut on her forehead. Status of the fleet? We've lost 30% of our ships, Torres reported grimly. The aliens are adapting faster than we can modify our weapons. Admiral, we're losing. That was when Dr. Webb's voice came over the comm system, calm and clear despite the chaos around them. Admiral, bioweapon is ready for deployment. I need a volunteer ship to carry it directly to the lead Queen ship. Chen looked around her damaged bridge. Half her crew was injured, her ship was barely functioning, and the enemy was closing in from all sides. It was exactly the kind of situation where humans did their most dangerous thinking. This is Admiral Chen. The Retribution will deliver the weapon. Ma'am, Captain Torres said quietly. That's a suicide mission. We'll have to get within a few kilometers of a Queen ship. Our ship won't survive that close to their defensive systems. Chen activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the Admiral. We have an opportunity to end this war, but it requires getting very close to some very large, very angry aliens. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship has 30 seconds to get to the escape pods. She waited. 30 seconds passed. No one moved. Well then, Chen said with a smile. Let's go kill ourselves a queen. The Retribution limped toward the massive biostructure at the center of the swarm formation. The Queen ship was larger than most asteroids. Its surface covered with weapon systems and defensive barriers that could vaporize a normal ship from thousands of kilometers away. But the Retribution wasn't a normal ship. It was built by humans designed to keep fighting even when everything went wrong. The bioweapons struck them first. Viral agents that tried to consume the hull, acidic compounds that ate through armor, living projectiles that burrowed into the ship and exploded. The Retribution took it all and kept moving forward. Distance to target. 1,000 kilometers, reported the navigation officer. Deploy the bioweapon, Chen ordered. Dr. Webb activated his modified virus and launched it toward the Queen ship in a small probe. The probe was destroyed by defensive fire before it traveled 50 meters, but it didn't matter. The virus was airborne now, spreading through space toward its target. Admiral, Torres said urgently, the Queen ship is charging its primary weapon. If that thing hits us, then we'll die knowing we gave it our best shot. Chen replied calmly. The Queen ship's weapon fired, a beam of energy that could have destroyed a city. It struck the Retribution directly, and the ship's entire front section simply ceased to exist. But they had gotten close enough. The modified virus reached the Queen ship and began to spread through its living tissue. Within minutes, the massive biostructure began to convulse as the weapon attacked the Queen herself. Across the system, every bioship under the dying Queen's control suddenly stopped moving. They hung in space like broken toys, their hive mind connections severed. The other two Queens tried to retreat, but it was too late. The Alliance fleet, inspired by the sacrifice of the Retribution, pressed their attack with renewed fury. Human ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Confederacy vessels pushed their sisti.